We did this, all this, we'll probably fall apart off of that. Get my stupid computer to actually download any emails, yes. I'll let you use it. I'll have to, if I can't get this thing to go. Yeah. The bad ones are better than the phones.
Okay, sure.
Here we go. It came in.
Oh, good.
I just have to turn off the Wi-Fi and turn it back on. Technology.
Yeah.
That's where my knowledge ended. Turn it off, turn it on.
Yeah. It,
Yeah.
once you get disconnected, you feel totally helpless.
I think I have everything down.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Especially when you come in and all my eggs are in this basket.
Yeah, oh, I've got to listen to Daniel.
Yeah. I might just stay down there. Go get the ball.
Yeah.
That might be the best thing. Go for it. Yeah, it's good. Like I said.
Nick, can you hear us? Nick, are you on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Glad you're with us. Let me go ahead and call to order the workshop meeting for June the 18th, 2026. The first item would be to review and approve the agenda. Do we have any changes or additions to the proposed agenda?
I'll move we approve.
Okay,
Second.
and you second. All right. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have an agenda. The next item will be the approval of the April 16th work session meeting minutes. Do we have any changes or corrections to that work session minute?
Move it be approved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. The next item, the Highlands Code of Ordinance Amendment, Article 2, the noise ordinance. The reason we're having this workshop basically tonight is in just a minute, we will be moving out. Is it raining or
In the
not?
rain.
Not yet.
Not right, yeah. So we'll quickly move out and have the police demonstrate the noise decibel.
Sissy just said the brain part.
Okay. Well, I guess we're gonna have to be creative. We'll wait and go out and hear that demonstration when it is not raining. And also we will have a discussion. Commissioner Weller has provided a chart of decibel levels in different communities at what levels they set. Jeff, are you ready to,
I am, if you can pull it up.
okay,
Mine is, my brand new iPad is working well.
okay, let me go.
Yep, sorry.
No problem.
Can't get anything to upload. There we go.
There we go.
All right, so there's been a lot of discussions about decibel levels and ordinances as far as residential versus commercial, times of day, how it's measured, what the rules actually say. And I'm gonna, I sent out to the board and I'll share the information with you now. It's right here.
Here it is.
Perfect. Just giving you some ideas, and the only reason, I mean, everything else is in North Carolina. The only reason Bar Harbor, Maine is on there is because when I put this together, I was in Bar Harbor, Maine. And that town reminded me of a northern Highlands as far as the type of town, the same struggles, the texture and the size of the town. A little bigger than our town, but the commercial district is about the same. So just wanted to mention what I show here is a town, the hours, the A-weighted decibel levels, and where it's measured from. And you'll see it's somewhat widely varying. Some of them are very interesting. The primary I do want to point out, one, if you go down the list, Waynesville from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. is 60 decibels, but they do not delineate between residential and commercial zones. So just that's the only clarification. Blowing Rock is slightly less than us, but oddly, it is at 65 feet from the property line, which seems like a very arbitrary decibel number. If you see on there where it says NA, that just means that they do not use decibel ratings at all. And West Jefferson, which I'm not familiar with, I don't know if anybody is there, but you can't have any outdoor speakers or music outside after 10 p.m. So that's just some of the little caveats. And I realize we are not a larger town, but I wanted people to understand the difference between larger towns and ours. Obviously, Raleigh Glenwood is, my daughter lives there right now, and it is, obviously she's in a mixed use area. She's in residential, but they have commercial all around it and under it. So those numbers are much higher. Asheville is higher. But then if in our ordinance, I wanted to also mention that after 10 p.m., it drops to 50 decibels in both residential and commercial areas. I think if you look up the list, none of them drop that low, which I think they should be that low without question by 10 p.m. And again, Asheville, Raleigh is more for relativity rather than a comparison to Highlands because it's the least comparable by far. If you go to the second page of this is just a chart I found, and it's from the American Academy of Audiology. So I just wanted people to understand what relative decibel levels mean. And this is according to them, not me. So just, I know I've heard discussions about 40 decibels is a good number, and that is described as a quiet library is 40 decibels. Moderate, normal conversation is 60, dishwasher is 60. I realize this is indoor. Moderate rainfall is 50. Traffic and vacuums are 70. Alarm clocks are 80. And then as you can see, as you go higher, certainly we would never venture into the areas that are called very loud, or obviously you're in jet planes, that's pretty irrelevant. But the bottom half of this, when we first started talking about this, I didn't know exactly I did have college courses on acoustics and sound, but I didn't know, I can't sit there and say that's about this many decibels. I feel pretty confident I can now just because of doing this for the past 2 months. But I wanted everybody to understand even a soft noise of a whisper is 30 decibels. People would picture that as being almost negligible. And leaves rustling on a fairly calm day is 20. So there was another chart I found that said a ticking watch on your wrist at the distance to your head is 25 decibels. So I sat in my office with a decibel meter with no traffic. I was doing nothing. I wasn't typing. I wasn't speaking. I was breathing. And it was 38 decibels sitting at my desk with dead silence. So just to understand, I want to do that as we start talking about things today to give you something to be a little bit more relative to. So that's.
Could you go back up to the cities?
Pardon me?
Just scroll back up to
Yeah.
the cities.
She has. The top piece, there's a lot of small towns that don't have a noise ordinance. Or they have one and it says if it is a major disturbance that extends for more than 20 minutes. So, and that was all times a day. Some of them are as simple as this. I found the only ones that I could find in Western North Carolina or relative that were, and like I said, the only reason Bar Harbor's on there because I felt it was very similar to Highlands. They had very small, they have inns and hotels, and they have restaurants and shops, and they have outdoor areas playing live music during the day and that sort of thing. So it was when I was there, it was very similar to Highlands in feel, in my opinion, at least. And you can see theirs, and theirs drops down to 60 decibels. Not sure why it's on 60 decibels at after 10 p.m. So in the commercial district. So,
Thank you.
yep, you're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? I've asked Michael Mathis to monitor the rain for us, so we can get out and listen if we have a break in the rain. How much?
47.
The air conditioner here is 27, 82, and 60.
Okay.
Jeff, does it make any difference of the frequency?
Pardon me?
Does it make any difference of the frequency of how annoying it is?
I'm sure it is to some
I
people.
mean, you're the
Yes.
ones that has the acoustic.
Yeah,
courses.
some
I've never
people
had
find
acoustic.
different music annoying at even low levels. So I would assume frequency does. I mean, it certainly has an effect on your ear,
Right,
but it does not affect the A-rated decibel range.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it actually can be considered more noisy at a lower frequency, that constant hum. I mean, I'm thinking leaf blowers, and leaf blowers like across the valley,
Yeah,
are annoying as heck.
agreed. So I live on Wetmont, and there's another property behind me before the highway, and then there's the lake, and then there's the sewer treatment plant. If it's pitch black at night, taking the dog out, and there's no cars to be heard at all, and I stand perfectly still, I read about 44 decibels round the clock, 24 hours a day from the
From-
fan blowing at the sewer treatment plant.
Right.
So, and that's dead silent at night, no noise, no rain, no wind, no nothing at 44. So when I'm sitting on the screen porch, you kind of start blocking it out, but it's there nonstop.
So maybe decibel's not something that is relevant.
Well, but you know, the things that become annoying are the very high pitched typically. The lower drones are not as
Well, I don't
much.
know, the leaf blowers are pretty.
I'm just going from my, you know, I only had one semester in
I,
college.
I know, I'm just going from experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I can.
No, I understand, but I'd be curious what you think as far as what sounds and what would you consider to be more annoying than not annoying? You see what I'm saying? I mean, in the context of what we're talking about.
But you also have to remember too, that the decibels is on a logarithmic scale, so it is not a straight line.
Right. But I do know their machines and our machines, the one I had and the one that they have that every officer now has, it actually reads, you can read it over a minute, over 2 minutes, over 5 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever, and it gives you the average during that period, which is how most of these ordinances are written as well.
Yeah, no, my point was, is you say, okay, we're at 60 and 65 could be that much greater, and it is significantly.
Oh, it is
greater.
significant. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
then 50, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's why 60 is our limit in the residential
it
areas.
doesn't sound like much, but that 5 decibel difference
Yeah.
is significantly
I
different.
think that's why the commercial is 70, residential is 60, and overnight, all of it is 50. I'm just saying that's why there's a distinguishing line between residential and commercial. There would be an expectation of quieter in residential areas, certainly in my opinion, at least. I'm only one, but
Well, and, you know, other than, I guess we don't have like the bouncing traffic noise that bigger places have. You talk about Asheville
right.
and Raleigh right, exactly. So we have a different, but we also have a scenario where we have bouncing mountains.
Yeah, and in my case, at my house, water.
Right, yeah, which is what it bounces
Yeah,
off of for
exactly.
you.
It's very reflective.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we can, these are not apples to oranges kinds of things. I mean, I understand what the relevance of trying to see what other,
Yeah.
to put it in context. But I think we have a different topography, we have a different traffic level, we have a different, I don't know, just.
Yeah, and I don't disagree in the residential areas. But I think the commercial area topography doesn't have the same effect as, I realize Bar Harbor is definitely flatter.
Yeah.
But Saluda is partially. I mean, it goes up and down a little bit. Brevard goes up and down, but the commercial areas are flatter. And Highlands, I mean, we go as high as the South Street down to basically Main Street is about the topography difference in commercial area, high and low. So you don't get quite the same bounce and that sort of thing that we're talking about with,
Yeah,
with topography.
yeah.
But again,
Well, that's why people with up the slope or down slope, the Jake brakes bother them differently.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and it depends on winter or summer, or it
Well, and
depends on,
that's true too.
yeah, it makes a huge difference because there's no leaves to block the sound. It travels much further, et cetera. So,
I have pulled up the weather radar and it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. To where I don't think we're going to be able to do this outdoors. I know Commissioner Weller, you wanted to do that to kind of simulate as best as possible
yeah,
our situation, but I just don't know that we're going to be able to do it with the
Well,
rain coming down.
but it might be worthwhile having Chief and Officer McCall speak to, because they had set this up and trialed it too. And they can talk about how it worked and also I'll say positives and negatives, and also the challenges of even having a demonstration on a public way.
Yeah.
Um,
Or they could also do it inside.
I'm just telling you right now, inside to me
Still completely
is
different.
completely irrelevant because
Particularly this
acoustics of
building.
this space are horrendous.
Particularly this building.
So
Yes.
it's not going to give you the true reading because it'll bounce off the wall and come back to you. When you're outside, there's nothing to bounce off of coming back to you. So it's not going to be realistic, but that's just my opinion. Again,
We can give you an idea of what's it.
Come on up forward, please. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed, on the Weller's chart that Franklin, North Carolina, when it says it's not within kilometers, there's no decibel reading, they do allow 20 feet from the source of the radio that was voted on in 2018. That's in the districts, and the reason is there are vertical topography with the building structures. You might have a code or the inset of step on the street or stepping into your commercial space, but it might be like and where the, how that looks with your Christmas shop. We have these topographies where things do bounce off of sidewalks into spaces. So, I think 20 feet from the source should be added to that. That seems reasonable.
but 20 feet from the source to what?
Whatever amplified sound.
But what happens at 20 feet?
It should not be plainly audible.
Plainly audible at 20 feet.
Okay, for background music.
Mhm.
So if you're going to supply background music, you might have all speakers underneath the table. For an outdoor seating area where you sort of piped in, or a person invests in having something that is a background scenario rather than the amplified speaker sitting to project, which to me would be more of a performance, more a projection of sound outward. So we're looking at supplying something for the customer. Yeah, we're talking about the commercial.
Well-
The intent is to supply it with a commercial.
Right.
Right.
But it also can be conversation.
Yeah.
If you have 15 people standing around talking, are they not?
Conversation, but conversation increases over the music, so they don't get.
Or the conversation can be, for example, at our new town hall. I've been by there where there's a large number of customers there and they're
Outside.
talking, yeah. And you can hear it, well beyond the property. Chief, you want to come in? We might just have to put on some raincoats or get wet or whatever.
Outside the energy risk is the same travel, so in here it is one box.
Okay.
So that's rainfall is 50 decibels.
What's that?
Rainfall's supposed to be 50 decibels.
I know.
What? Rainfall's 50 decibels.
Yeah. Moderate.
Yeah.
About 45 minutes is not moderate.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 86 and it's right on.
But you're measuring it from the coming out.
Yeah, so we're trying to get down to 70 decibels, see what it be, then we'll start over.
Okay.
Oops.
Look right in my face. I was walking, standing up. And talking about. My daddy was a free.
That's it. That's in your, anywhere from 70 to 75.
At the source.
But again, you gotta say, it's friction.
Yeah.
Okay, so what distance do we want now? 60?
Yeah.
But this thing, you gotta go through just all these.
The distance from the source to the decibel reader.
Okay.
You could get the AC. Get the AC running.
We could say.
So if, let's say we're in a restaurant and we're having that as background music, that's the level inside the restaurant.
No, outside the restaurant, leaving the property typically,
That is the code.
leaving the property.
Yes. So my point though is that would be kind of normal background music possibly for a restaurant or bar situation. That music would really have to be turned up pretty high for it to leave the enclosed space to go outside. Now, that's not to say that if they're generating it from an outside source, that's a whole different situation.
Right. Or
Okay.
somebody's screaming or yelling, unreasonable. Straight here.
That was 60, 50.
Him talking with a microphone.
Yes, I'm talking into the microphone.
Air conditioning. But I sometimes think we're getting too caught up in the decibel level and not in the other parts of this that aren't necessarily I realize that we started this because the police want a specific thing that they
Right.
can enforce without being subjective, but a lot of noise ordinances and a lot of noise is very subjective. I don't mind dog barkings, but some people hate dog barkings, okay? I dislike leaf blowers all day long. So it is really, kind of subjective as to what is an annoying thing. And one of the reasons that I don't mind dog barkings as much as I just mind leaf blowers is it's not constant.
Right. But a leaf blower has a limited hours and it's exempt. It can be 110 decibels coming off the property
Oh,
line.
I'm not just saying that
Yeah.
I don't want, that
Right,
I
but it's
would-
from certain hours, obviously.
Yeah, I would be
Different hours.
glad I'm just using that as an example of a constant hour by hour noise at times
Right.
that is annoying simply because it is persistent.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and I do appreciate the issue that was brought up, or the element, which is a good element that Franklin passed. And it's outdoor and it's musical instrument or any electronic sound amplification 20 feet from the source during nighttime hours. It is not during the daytime. It's from 11 PM. It says for the purposes of this section, it's defined as between 11 PM and 8 AM.
Right.
I'm just bringing that up because that's item number 9 and their ordinance passed in January of 18. So it's during those hours. But I mean, these decibel levels have been what we've had since this ordinance was written.
Oh, I
In the
agree.
beginning.
I understand that because again, we're trying to make it objective and less subjective. But the
Mhm.
problem is I don't know that that is actually the way to tackle the problem. Because it is, part of it is duration, part of it is time of day, part of it is it's not just decibels when the police happen to show up. I'm just thinking, to me anyway, part of the problem that we have now is people are using music as
Music is what?
signs, attractions to get you to come see what's going on.
Okay.
We have sign ordinances and then, they can only be a certain size and they can't be this high and they can't be this color and all those kind of things because we want it to be not billboardy kind of waving flag sign. We don't even let waving flags because they're signs, because then they don't make any noise at all, but they are that attraction that we're trying to regulate into how calm and quiet we keep our community as opposed to be glaring and noisy to say, come see me, come see me, come see me, which can be exactly what they're doing. So in other words, I'm saying, if we just look at it from a technical perspective of just decibels, okay, as opposed to the aesthetics of our town. And I understand your Bar Harbor and all the rest of that stuff, but we can decide ourselves what we want here. I don't know whether they have sign ordinances and what their signs look like. So,
Very similar to here, small format, et cetera.
right, exactly.
Nothing backlit.
Right. So it's the kind of thing that we do those kind of things because we want a certain ambiance here,
Mhm.
okay? Regardless of if it's in residential or in commercial. I think most of what we're talking about here now is in commercial because residential kind of takes care of itself because nobody lives jammed up on each other in the residential areas. And most of that noise would be interior noise anyway. It's the outside noise that people are using to try and attract business because instead of just a sign, they decided to attract business with music.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm trying to think of a place that actually does that. Like, come on in, we're having music playing. I mean, the only place I would say that happens, and I'm picking on anybody, was like Highlander Mountain House has live music on the corner. And that exceeds these levels.
But that's not a sign music. That is entertainment like Madison's has for their
Yeah,
lunch guests or whatever.
But you don't think playing music live, having live music on a Sunday brunch is not attracting people in?
Yeah, but I think it's a lot more, they're not just out there playing music to get people. People are there listening to,
Well, I
which
understand
is,
that.
which is like your
Understand that.
Friday night concerts or anything like that. That's for people to come and sit and listen and come to town and those kind of things. It's a more general attraction than it is a specific business attraction.
Okay.
I mean, I understand that part of our problem is the police have a hard time subjectively deciding the thing, but if you read this thing, it's actually not very clear anyway. You know,
Well, I used the example when we first started talking about this, actually 2 years ago. The fact that there was an owner that, because partially topography and partially because it's kind of stuck as a finger out into the residential area. There was a person who every time on a Sunday afternoon, there was music on the porch of the smokehouse, she called and reported it. I lived next door to them. I sat on that back porch of my house and I listened to the music. You could hear it. It wasn't loud. It wasn't offensive. It was folk music with an acoustic guitar, but yes, amplified. And they ended up getting a $250 and then a $500 and then $1,000 ticket and stopped doing music. So I'm not, whether you're playing it to attract or you announce we're having live music and people come there, they're still being attracted by the music. But it also, I mean, I don't think in that instance, and I knew it firsthand because they just didn't want music. And half the time they were in the house. They weren't even on the porch. They just didn't like the fact that anybody did it. So they reported. So I'm just saying they ended up paying $1,750 in fines.
and I understand that too,
For-
but sometimes you can't please everybody. And then
Right, that's what I
sometimes you just
understand.
get a contrary
Bill,
like
so.
that. Because I can hear the Saturday night music in my house
I can hear it on Webmont.
constantly. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I also hear the generator start up at OEI, every day or every week
Yeah.
to run the generator. So it is not something that you're ever going to regulate because those are special, not constant everyday things. As opposed to an everyday thing, which is, somebody has to be eating a meal at the, whatever the old Phelps house is called now.
Highlander Mountain House.
Huh?
Highlander Mountain House.
Okay. I'm showing my
I call it
age.
the Phelps House.
I know, I'm showing my age here.
I know Jim does.
I'm sure he does. That's kind of for a specific thing and sure, it's attractive, but it's not, it's also a little bit of it's like the music on Saturday and Friday nights. I don't have any problem with that, even though I hear it and I'm not particularly interested in hearing it. It doesn't bother me because that's part of the little small town thing because it's a Friday and a Saturday night. But from 10 o'clock in the morning on, just to have music, seems to me it's more waving a sign than it is just a sneaking out of music from an interior bar or someplace to eat or whatever, And I don't know how you get at that because that's part of the subjectiveness of it.
Right. I'm just trying to figure out a way to not have, I'm sorry, Bill.
No,
I
I
was
mean,
just trying to figure out a way not to have the person that complained 3 times on a Sunday at 3 PM to get a restaurant has acoustic guitar playing, get a fine 3 weeks in a row. That's
Yeah,
that's just not fair. So, but good. Bill had something. I'm sorry, Bill.
no, I mean, I'm listening to the conversation. I think it's really good, but it sort of, what specifically would we change in what's been proposed? And
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine.
That's,
Then,
but
that's what I was trying to get at,
I
is sort
usually
of-
start with not necessarily what we've got and what do you want to change. I usually start, what are we trying to accomplish and why?
yeah, I mean, to me, one of the options is we do nothing. We have a noise ordinance, an option that we can all take is just to say, we do nothing. I think our levels that we have in there and the times we have in there based on what you projected were on market. In other words, we're not out of line now. I was more inclined to try to support what was being done, admittedly new to the commission, but coming in and sort of the middle of this, not 2 years worth. But the chief asked for something to make it less subjective. And so, my penchant was to try to combine, which is what we're trying to do, combine nuisance and noise and make it less subjective. But it does seem like we're in a little bit of a Gordian knot here, where we have places in town now, Highlander Mountain House, OEI, others that have amplified music outdoors. And there isn't a proposed exemption allowed for that. But my understanding is that the decibel level would still apply. Is that correct? Nick, that's correct?
Can you state that again, what the
Yes,
question is?
the proposed addition to the ordinance that says that amplified outdoor music is exempted. Does it still have to comply with the decibel level?
That's just for special events though, like special town board approved events is where it's kind of exempt at that
Okay.
point.
But then I'm sorry, I was mixing
Yeah.
terms. All right,
Yeah.
so you answered
Okay.
my question, which was, did you have a specific recommendation?
Okay.
You're just talking about, which is fine. Thanks.
Sissy, do you have anything to add to Chief, did you have anything to add to the subjectivity discussion?
So I didn't
We got,
hear
do we want him to be able to hear it too?
specifically, you mentioned,
It's
well,
on.
let's break it. That's how my last 3 weeks has been going. Josh, I hear you. Okay, let's not touch it. I'm loud. So you asked if they still would have to comply with the decibel reading, correct? You didn't
Yes.
mention anything about special, nothing's.
No, just
because
what they
last
still
I
have
checked,
to,
Old Edwards don't have anything special going on. I think.
right.
Chamber of music.
Or
Yeah.
or the Mountain House, which has outdoor speakers that are in the ground and they play
They
those.
just don't.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything special.
No,
Unless I'm
Not-
wrong,
Not that I'm aware of.
not aware. So yes, they have to.
Okay,
So the same if you've got a complainant who that if someone's playing a radio or what amplified sound outside, specifically a radio, and, it's under the decibels, it's under the decibels. But you still have the complainant that is a nuisance to them. So we go on the side of the decibels, we're unjust to the complainant. If we go on the side of the complainant, then we're unjust to the one playing the music under the decibels. That's where it's very difficult.
Right.
Obviously, someone with 20 years, 40, 45 years with Leah. She listen, we're gonna make a sound decision, right? But when you've got rookies coming in or people coming from other Franklin, Macon County Sheriff's Department, I can assure you these things ain't being enforced. That like this is, I think that Franklin has a code person now. The officers aren't doing these things. So when you're getting these people in and, it's hard for what do we do? Because clearly one side is, this is a nuisance. Clearly this side, well, we're under the decibels. Well, any, meeny, miny, mo, we'll go with you today, right? So that's where I'm trying to get this somehow less, as Amy, as you suggested, less subjective. But yes, they can be under the decibels, but if you've got a complainant, it's still a nuisance to them.
Well,
Okay.
under the
thank you.
under the decibels, but one of the things in here, I can't find it right now, it talks about duration.
Yeah.
So there, as I said, there's a difference between an occasional dog bark and a constant leaf blower. So it's a duration problem.
But the dog barking is in a totally different section.
No, I'm just saying,
So-
things that create
Right.
noise. Okay, sometimes you can turn a leaf blower on for 5 minutes and be done, but with these leaf blowers that go 10 and 20 minutes and 30 minutes and an hour, then it becomes more of a nuisance
Sure.
because of the length, the duration of it.
So how long's that duration? Can we define that?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about nuisance, it's not just the decibel level. Yeah, that's a technical way of doing it, an objective way of doing it. But sometimes there is that subjective is, okay, this has been going on for 3 hours now,
Sure.
you know, and I'm kind of tired of it. Or as we were talking about, nobody's sitting out here and yet we still have music out here. Or, you know, it doesn't get turned off or whatever. It's not above the decibel level, so
I completely understand.
that's why I'm saying this
yeah.
is not a cut and dry kind of thing that has an easy answer to.
Yeah, agreed. That's why I came to you guys for some kind of guidance because, you know, I'm getting phone calls at home at, 8, 9 o'clock. Or complaints because the officer went with this side, or the complaints because the officer went with that side. So it's,
So we need to be able to give you something to point to and say, the officer points to and says,
we have
I
judges.
read
but-
this.
Yes,
and this is
we
the way
have
it
judges
works.
because there's gray area in law.
Exactly.
So we're being judge and jury.
Mhm.
I get it. It's what we sign up for, but sometimes when you don't have this knowledge to handle these things, then we're getting called at home and how should I handle it? Well, however you see best. But that's not always the best answer. If somebody wants to be happy and not everybody's going to. So maybe we just say, we'll side with what you want to side with and I don't know.
Depends on whether you're having a good day or a bad day.
That is correct. It's been a lot more bad lately. So I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Well, Chief, one of the things that, even with this flawed, demonstration that we had inside, with the air conditioning running and you're running your dB meter, and then you're listening to that sound. For example, at the Mountain House, if you stood on the property line, how do you filter, like during the afternoons when they're a lot of times having a person, but there's cars coming and people walking and talking? How do you really objectively even measure that? This discussion is bringing
From
more
a $35 machine.
questions than.
It really is. And so kind of like I was sitting here thinking, but with the situation where one of the officer went and there was a complaint and we were under the decibels. They were still bothered by the music. So, us simply asking, could you turn it down a little bit? That's still not enough for some people. Like because they're under the decibel, they're clearly abiding by the ordinance. Us asking, could you turn the volume down, is still posing a problem. Because we get there, we measure it, it's 47 to 54. Or, you've got a complainant saying, well, they turned it down when you got there, you watch video, and maybe there's not always video, but you see videos that nobody went and turned it down. It's like, it's just a whirlwind. So it's like, we're trying to make everybody happy and we're not succeeding. And I know that in my line of work, I'm usually not gonna make people happy. I get it. But I'd like to try to come to some kind of mediation
Understood.
for everyone.
And just to provide a little bit of clarity too on what the proposed text amendment does. I mean, if you are above the decibel limit, then that's okay. That's objective and that's clear. You can cite them for violating the noise ordinance. What we attempted to do with this proposed text amendment is say, okay, well, there's going to be sometimes when you can't do a decibel reading, or there's going to be sometimes when, like the chief was saying, you are underneath that decibel limit, but it is still quote unquote a noise disturbance. And so we put a little bit more clarity around what goes into considering what is that noise disturbance when you're under the decibel limit or when you can't make a decibel reading. So, I mean, while yes, it is subjective, we did put in specific factors using from other ordinances, across North Carolina to try to provide more clarity than was already there. And then of course you also have your exempted list of noises and your list of noises that typically are going to be considered a noise disturbance, if they are of the duration, frequency, et cetera, and meet the factors. So, while it is subjective, there is meant to be a little bit more clarity provided with this text amendment.
Time, place, time of day, place,
Duration.
duration.
I mean, that's, I found it, it's under the definition of noise disturbance. It says exceeds the acceptable decibel levels established for this article or by reason of volume, duration, character, time of occurrence, disturbance or annoyance. You know, so,
Yeah, it doesn't make it cut and dry. If
No.
you're 68 decibels, you
but
can
we're
keep
not
it rolling.
helping your officers any. Right?
Well, I mean, if you want to put down, if it's played more than 2 hours, then we have more subjective language to follow. I don't know.
It's a try.
So I do have a question. Is there been, oh, if somebody,
Oh, well, why don't you come up here where we
Yeah.
can,
so
I got it.
So
would you come up here?
to the
and-
microphone.
Yes, please.
Who's that? Chief, I got a question, so don't go too far.
I'll sit with him. If he don't kick me.
My name is Bergen Hayes, and while we were on track on something that I think is fairly interesting and important, I'd like to make a couple of comments. Number one, this is not my first rodeo on this issue. When I was a young lawyer, I was a prosecutor, and I was also the head of the civil section of Travis County, where the famous Austin, Texas exists, and, you know, music is our livelihood. So I had an opportunity to discuss this issue with the county commissioners, who included Ann Richards, who I will tell you is every bit as interesting as she has appeared to be during her lifetime. The point I would make is that when I look at something like this as a lawyer, my reaction is to try to view the rights of the two parties that might be involved. Now, everyone recognizes the hypersensitive person should not be calling about something that is just irritating to them, but the average person would think, that's tolerable. The real question here is, what are your property rights or your personal liberty rights? And a business does not have a property right to create a noise or a sound that, by virtue of, yes, decibels. Number two, as you have so properly pointed out, it's duration. But there's a third point. You know, there's a difference between listening to a lounge lizard and listening to someone scream, you know, take this job and shove it. And the point I'm trying to make to you is factoring those in all together is critical. And I would say that the person who is next to the business that is trying to attract people to get them in or entertain them once they're there, I think there is a significant difference between my desire to go hear the kind of music I like. And so I go to the Ugly Dog on a Wednesday night because I do like it. Or I go to the Ruffled Grouse after church on Sunday because I like it. That is different. I'm making a business decision about where I go and what I do. Now, that is a far cry different from somebody who hangs a speaker outside their business, and persons who don't want to go to that business and listen to that music or that sound are inundated with it. That is far more like me and my next door neighbor, and my septic tank overflows and puts fluid on their property in violation of their property right. That is noise pollution versus noise. I live on a little lake on Hicks Road, and I've been there a lot longer than the half-mile, facility that sits there. But guess what? They on the weekends have a wedding, and one night on the weekend, they're gonna play music. And you know what? My kids shoot off fireworks at the 4th of July. So I have to be a reasonable neighbor and say, you know what, OLM, someone's having a great time up there. And my wife tells me, isn't it nice that what we're listening to is really not that bad? Interspersed with every once in a while, they play something that I don't like. So the point I'm trying to make to you is, how in God's green earth are we going to take those competing interests and not try to impose our view, personal view of the sound on somebody that has a legitimate right not to listen to it? Now, I will tell you, I have read the Franklin ordinance. I have read the Macon County ordinance, and I have read the old Highlands ordinance. And I will tell you, Franklin and Macon County simply say, if you want to go into a restaurant and you want to listen to a certain kind of music, have at it. But you really don't have to be bombarded with noise that is put on a speaker outside, where when you get well beyond the property line, it's constant for hours and hours and hours. Not only is it constant, it could be loud lizard, it could be, something different that's glaringly unpleasant to someone else. And what they do is they just say, you're not going to hang your speaker outside. You don't get to do that, because that takes the differential between someone wanting to go to a restaurant like the Ugly Dog and, hear those fine people play bluegrass or whatever, versus someone who is forced, as they're going in to their yoga class, to listen to a bunch of noise that is really unpleasant. And that's the differential. Now, how you people monitor that and how you deal with it is up to you, because you're elected to do this job. But I would tell you, do not become overly enthusiastic or imbued with the sense that you're denying someone who hangs a speaker of their First Amendment right of free speech, because that is not a First Amendment right, any more than I have a First Amendment right to let my sewage flow on my neighbor's land. Now, I will tell you, this lady to my right does the best she can, and she wants to make sure that she's not put in a position where she's doomed to failure. But you know what? If the noise is really, let's say that was pretty unpleasant in here earlier. And oh yes, we got a ceiling and we've got walls, et cetera, et cetera. But the bottom line is, you don't want to be outside and listen to that kind of loud noise for hours and hours and hours. Nobody's going to want to do that. Now, Mr. Weller, he's trying to approach it academically. I would say, fine, hire yourself a psychologist to come in and explain to you that they have tortured people. POWs got tortured with noise. It wasn't Johnny Paycheck, but it was noise. So what I'm saying to you is, I guarantee you the police chief of Franklin doesn't have to worry about decibels, because they say no speaker. And if she's given a choice between no outside speaker or fighting over a decibel level, knowing as she does that when the police are coming, they're going to turn it down. There's no question about that. And we don't want that gamesmanship. We want to knock it out. So let's give her the best help she can get. Just simply say, you can't have a speaker outside. People want to go inside, by God, you have at it. And if you're going to beat the decibel, if the decibel level inside, I can't imagine you're going to have people, well, people in the Ugly Dog do listen to nice loud music, but they don't listen to it so horribly loud that they can't stand it. Now, look, I've got hearing aids, so I'm protected, okay? Now, you have put up with me far more than you should. I'm just encouraging you to look at all the different sides of this issue. And if you can possibly give her an opportunity to say, you know, I'm sorry, that speaker's gone, then life would be easier for her. And I apologize for taking so long.
Okay.
I really do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, good.
Commissioner
My
Day?
turn.
Did you?
Well, let me start off by saying I personally love the sound of leaf blowers. That's what put my kids through college. I say that in jest, but that leads to my next question. How do you, I mean, how do we handle like our own town employees that are out at 6 a.m. with leaf blowers blowing Main Street? And I was out watering
Town's
baskets the other
exempt.
morning, and they've got the jet blower going down Main Street. And
Town work is exempt.
I know.
yeah, but why? I'm just saying, it's just part of the
Oh, well,
conversation.
I'll tell you what. If they aren't there when the streets are fairly clear, they can't get it
I
done.
understand that. Completely understand. But I'm leading to this point. It's like a motorcycle coming through town. It's like somebody with the window rolled down and music playing coming through town. I don't know that we can ever quite hit the nail on the head and get everything perfect. I think but I really like what kind of Nick's put together here and the gist of what it's going in my opinion, I'm in favor of it. And I hope that we can pass it maybe, and it gives us a gist. And if 3 months from now, a year from now, you come back to us and say, this is a bunch of baloney, I can't enforce this, it's not working, then we try and revisit it. Or maybe something comes up in the meantime, but at least it might get us off this hump and get something passed to where we can give you some type of.
It's an attempt.
And also just to
It's a
clarify,
quandary.
Commissioner, Commissioner, just to clarify, all, it's not just town equipment, all landscaping equipment, et cetera, is exempt. So that's not just a town thing. So.
But I thought that there's timeframes on that though.
Yeah, but.
There is
Yeah,
time.
But except
during
for
working hours, yes.
But the town equipment gets operated prior to that. And I understand why, because of cars off Main Street, et cetera, the street sweeper, all those sorts of things, but they're well before the 7:30 a.m. start. So I'm just,
Right.
I realize that's irrelevant to this conversation, but it's not at the same time.
Because you have to use a modicum of common sense too, that is the best time to do it.
In the commercial
And-
district, yeah, absolutely.
Right, and the fact is that is not a constant thing, day after day after day. They don't do it
Yep.
every single day.
No, understand.
None of those things, none of the motorcycles through town, none of the loud music through, coming out of a window, none of the blowing the leaves or the street cleaner going up and down. And there's a difference between having it all the time, every day, than there is the occasional one. The occasional one, you say, oh my God, that was loud, but it's gone.
All right, we are
We
approaching
have-
7 o'clock.
If other people want to speak about it, but.
There was some
We're,
people.
we're getting close to 7. Come on up and quickly, if you want to say something.
Everybody that wants to speak, come up quickly because
Yes,
I just
this is
have
the
a
last
couple,
group.
couple comments that I.
and your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Tom Kirkland. I've been a resident, part-time resident since 2020 of Highlands. And I wanted to speak to, maybe I could help out what the lady commissioner was trying to say, and that is that decibels may be an important aspect of sound. It is just one aspect of it. It's the low frequency sound that makes, in particular, the gas blowers so annoying. That low frequency, as we all know, goes through our windows, goes through our doors. You can't go inside and get away from it. And I think that's what she's been trying to say. And it is all day. It happens all day. And the other thing I would just say, just to clarify about the decibels, 70 decibels versus 60. 70's not a little bit louder than 60. It's twice as loud. And operating at 110, that's 30, 50, whatever times as loud. So I just wanted to clarify that this focus on decibels is only part of the problem. It's this low frequency sound that travels much further than other sounds and is the reason why you can't even get away from it in your own house. And I'm hoping we can do something about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, that's fine.
that'll be
That's
fine.
We have one more that was headed.
One more.
Hello, how are y'all?
And your name?
I am Amber. I am local business owner, property owner as well on two properties in the commercial district of Highlands. Specifically speaking on just the commercial area on the noise ordinance. I guess my question to Nick is like in North Carolina law, it already recognizes private and public nuisance claims under common law, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So my request to all the commissioners would be that we don't need to duplicate those standards. It's already under North Carolina law. So we're just duplicating it. The reason why I request that a nuisance be removed from the current noise ordinance is because it's inherently subjective. Just like Chief was saying, she has new people, she has outsiders coming in. They don't quite understand the ordinance laws of Highlands. Or not laws, but the ordinance standards of Highlands. And objective standards provide due process. So that's another issue with having nuisance in the current wording. The last thing is like these subjective nuisance standards invite selective enforcement. And so without measurable criteria, enforcement decisions may depend on who complains rather than when the violation actually exists. So I ask you to consider that North Carolina already has this in North Carolina law, and we don't need to duplicate it in these standards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it is now time to adjourn and I'll reconvene. It's at 7:00. Let's take a 2-minute.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? We're adjourned.
Battery work.